Breakfast
with Phil Upton.
Tell you what, there's a patron saint of cinema or going to the movies. It's probably this next contributor on CWR as our regular movie critic. On every Thursday, they give us their good, bad, and on-demand picks for movie watching in Coventry and Warwickshire. Delighted to have them back this morning from Stratford-upon-Avon. James Luxford. Morning, James.
Good morning. What an introduction.
Well, we're talking patron saints because Duchess of Cambridge is patron saint of rugby. She's all over the front page of newspapers this morning. So we were sort of asking people what, if they could choose to be patron saints of anything, what they could be. And I just thought, well, you would be cinema, naturally, wouldn't it? Or popcorn.
Absolutely, yes. Or popcorn, yes. I've had my fair share of that.
Good, bad, and on-demand picks for this week. As ever, then, let's start with your good, shall we?
My good starts with The Eyes of Tammy Faye in cinemas from Friday. Jessica Chastain stars in a film about Tammy Faye Baker, an infamous 80s televangelist whose rise to fame was threatened by dark secrets.
Tammy and I are undergoing the most vicious attacks.
Serving God don't feel like it should be a money-making opportunity.
You know, when I saw that clipping with my face on it, I thought for a second that you were proud of me.
Or Tammy Faye, you follow blindly. In the end, all you are is blind.
Now, remember this story vaguely being in the papers at the time, Tammy Faye Baker, but what's it like as a movie?
I really enjoyed it. It, as you say, based on a true story that may not be so familiar to people outside of America, but it is an interesting rise and fall story, if you like, as well as an interesting look at a figure who sort of stood out from her peers, taking a less fire and brimstone approach, and particularly advocating for victims of the HIV and AIDS epidemic of the 80s by bringing them on her Christian network and interviewing them, and it became sort of very controversial in that sense. So sort of a divisive figure, I suppose, but this film is all about the performances. I think Jessica Chastain is amazing in the lead, as is Andrew Garfield, who you heard there in the clip as her husband, Jim Baker. It's an interesting watch, maybe an awards contender, but I think just on its own, a very interesting story of fame and a downfall that's will have you asking questions as you leave the cinema, I think.
It's out on Friday, tomorrow, across Coventry and Warwickshire cinemas. The Eyes of Tammy Faye. That's the good selection. What's the bad?
The bad is Never Too Late in cinemas from Friday. James Cromwell and Dennis Waterman play Vietnam veterans in Australia who plan to break free of their care home.
Mr. Bronson, you've been here less than one day and you faked a stroke, threatened our staff, and tried to break out.
There was a very special lady friend I had to see because it's been 50 years.
Norma was transferred out of here earlier today. She'll be back in 3 months.
I'll find you, Norma. In 3 months, she might not even remember who I am.
James Cromwell, who you'll remember, what was the name of the pig movie years ago, James? Babe, thank you very much. Remember that. More recently, he's played the role of the crusty granddad in the TV hit series Succession that's been on the telly, but obviously not keen on this, James.
No, unfortunately, I thought this was a good idea, sort of looking at the way the elderly and people who are infirm towards old age are looked after. And of course has a lot of legendary names in there. Dennis Waterman, James Cromwell, as you mentioned, and also Jackie Weaver, who you might know from Silver Linings Playbook and Bird Box and a lot of other movies. It just doesn't do much with that cast. It just sort of goes through the motions with familiar jokes about getting older, when something a bit more moving could have been done. Just to me, a bit of a waste of a great cast.
Okay, so that's in movie cinemas. Again, released tomorrow, Never Too Late. If that's the bad, let's get the on-demand then. Something for you that might be on your on-demand services at home, Sky Store, Netflix, whatever it might be. What have you come up with, James, for this?
My pick is The Lost Daughter on Netflix now. Olivia Colman plays an academic on a writing holiday whose friendship with a young mum brings up some difficult memories.
What were your daughters like when they were little?
I can't remember much, actually.
Okay, that sounds a bit eerie.
It is, but in what the most intriguing way, and it's a really interesting film, led by another terrific performance from Olivia Colman. It's about looking back and confronting the demons of your past, and Colman is just so good at those characters that have something lurking beneath the surface. Definitely worth checking out if you didn't see it in cinemas in December. I think this might be another award contender. We're going to get a lot of that over the next few weeks as the movie's looking to score big at the Oscars, hit our cinemas and streaming services, and this is definitely up there. A very interesting movie, and one that'll sort of draw you in slowly and definitely leave an impact.
She's amazing, isn't she, Olivia Colman? I mean, associated as the Queen for so long, and that's really what broke her in the United States. But actually, whatever role she sort of picks up, she makes her own, doesn't she?
She really does, and I think, as you say, perhaps most associated with The Crown, but also things like Broadchurch and a number of other movies. The Favourite, which won Oscars in I think a couple of years ago,
Yep.
And really anything she sort of turns her hand to is worth watching, as you can play dark characters, comedic characters, and here is something that's a little bit different even for her very career, and definitely worth checking out.
Lost Daughter with Olivia Colman out on Netflix now. James, 3 good ones there. Appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Speak again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Luxford for us. Movie critic from Stratford-upon-Avon, and their regular good, bad, on-demand choices for your movie pleasure in Coventry and Warwickshire. Long shoot, slow going.